Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. I am Reverend Kelly Bershinsky. Welcome to our Sunday service. And with me, please welcome our musical inspiration for today, Mr. Ryan Kimery.
Good to be with you guys. Happy Sunday. Testing 1, 2. Sounds good. Woke up this morning, I suddenly realized that we're all in this together. I started smiling, 'cause you were smiling, and we're all in this together. Yeah, I'm made of atoms, you're made of atoms, and we're all in this together. And long division, it doesn't matter, 'cause we're all in this together. I saw you walking out in the city where we're all in this together. The city's changing, 'cause we are changing, and we're all in this together. Every 12 seconds, someone remembers that we're all in this together. In the kitchen of your rent-controlled apartment, we are all in this together. Come on, baby, I don't mean to rush you. I just want to reach out and touch you. Remember to open your heart. I know you're thinking about jumping ship before it sinks, but they're all in this together. Ask a scientist, it's quantum physics, where we're all in this together. And on the subway, we feel like strangers, but we're all in this together. Come on, baby, it's alright to show me. You don't ever have to be lonely. Once you start to open your heart. Saw you crying, I started crying, 'cause we're all in this together. And that religion, it's a big decision, but we're all in this together. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All in this together, huh? Oh, I love that little song from a gentleman named Ben Lee. Gosh, maybe, I don't know, 12 or 15 years ago. And very much, I think, in alignment with what we talk about at Center for Spiritual Living Pleasant Valley and in the science of mind and religious science, this idea of oneness, of being in this world and in this life together. And struck me just as Ryan was singing that song. A friend of mine and I spoke just a little bit ago about being alone and loneliness, and that idea expressed in that song that we're all in this together and that you don't have to be alone if you'll open your heart. I just think that's so beautiful and so appropriate for what we do here at the center. So, all in this together, and yet Ryan and I are the only ones up here working, and everybody else kind of hanging out and enjoying Sunday morning. All in this together, right? And so, back to our monthly theme for September, which is finding magic. Very good. You guys do good, so well with the visual cues and that sort of thing. And so I asked last week if anybody might journal or write down in a notebook if they witnessed magic sometime over the course of the week. Did anybody do that? Okay, Pamela Bailey says she wasn't here, so she gets a hall pass on that one. But did you witness magic in the course of your week this past week? Anybody? I shared, or I will share a little magical thing that I witnessed this week. As you may know, we are beginning a class this coming Thursday night called Living the Serenity Prayer. And I had a call from another friend of mine this week in Marcia Beebe who said, Kelly, are you aware that there's only one book for that class on Amazon? Only one in stock. And I said, no, I'm not aware of that. Note to self, maybe check that before offering a class in the future. And so I went to work trying to figure out how I'm going to get books for this class, to support this class, that sort of thing. And so some came in stock, and so I ordered 10 books, and it said, on Amazon, you can have these in like a minute. I mean, you order them today, you have them tomorrow. It's a really, really easy and simple process, and so I did that. It said, order in the next 8 hours, you can have these tomorrow, and so I ordered 10, and it changed the date to September 26th when I ordered 10 books, and so I rethought that, and then I went back to planning and looked at that again, and I said, well, what would happen? It says one in stock I can have tomorrow, and what would happen if I ordered one? And then I just increased by another book. 2 was available tomorrow, 3 tomorrow, 4 tomorrow, 5 October 6th. And so I ordered 4, 3, 2, and 1, which were all available. They all arrived yesterday, but I ordered 4 separate orders, 4, 3, 2, and 1, because you can't have 10 until September 26th. And yet in 4 separate orders, magic, So what can I say? Absolutely, yes. So I am going to invite magic in the form of Pamela Bailey up this morning to do the sacred ritual, the sacred ceremony of lighting the flames of faith for us. So, Pamela, if you'd come up.
Thank you, Kelly. It's wonderful to be back here, although I have to say I will claim that I brilliantly, during that awful hot wave, I was brilliantly on an island in Canada, and it was 75 degrees. So eat your hearts out. No, it was a happy circumstance. In any case, I'm delighted to be doing this Candles of Faith because as I speak to people out in the world, and they're not religious scientists or they're not metaphysical people, all of them who are truly spiritual want to know that oneness of God, and that we are all related, and that nobody's going to burn in hell forever because of how they've chosen to believe. So here in this center, we celebrate that oneness of all by lighting the candles of faith. And so we perform this ceremony to promote that universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from that one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. So first, we light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Next, we light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. Oh, and I would like to draw attention to this lovely folder that I got this week for reading these things. Next, we light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Next, we light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. And next, we light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Next, we light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. And then we light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them at this center, and for all religions unnamed in this ceremony. And last, but certainly not least, we light the healing candle. And please put silently into the light the names of anyone that you wish to have the experience of the healing flame of God's eternal love. Thank you. Yes, and now, as a religious science practitioner, thank you, Reverend Kelly, for the reminder, I am going to do our morning treatment, our affirmative opening prayer. So if you would join me in that place of oneness, I know that where I am, God is. And in that place of where God is, that is every place. And so as I know that God is all that there is, everywhere present, everywhere powerful, everywhere creating, I am just able to relax into the flow of life, knowing that all is well, knowing that right where I am, magic is present, miracles are present, healing is present, connection, belonging, all of those things that I, and probably you too, see as important, and the things which make life a joy and a wonderful experience, that those things are fully present right here, right now, here in this community of loving beings, in the greater community here in the Conejo Valley and in Ventura County, and in all places where there are sentient beings, that at the core, at the essence of who each and every being, that there is that divine spark, that spark of love and creation and intelligence. And knowing that, I just relax and I allow this day to bring forth magic, miracles, friendship, love, joy, creativity, And I rejoice and I give thanks for all of it. And I release this knowing that it is already done. And together we say here, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And so just stay in, as Pamela said, stay in that essence, in that sacred space within as Ryan takes us into love.
Love is real. Real is love. Love is feeling. Feeling love. Love is wanting to belong. Love is touch. Touch is love. Love is reaching. Reaching love. Love is asking to belong. Love is you, you and me. Love is knowing that we can be. Love is free. Free is love. Love is living. Living love. Love is needing to belong.
Wow, thanks again, Ryan. Thank you very much. And just on the heels of that, I'm going to invite Pamela back up and just to give us her thoughts on this idea of finding magic, or however she interprets that.
Thank you, Kelly. So this week when I was reading the Constant Contact about what today was going to be, and it was talking about creating magic. And I thought, gosh, that's an interesting thing. And in there was a little description of how a lot of us either suppress or don't think we're creative, or think, oh, that's for somebody else. That's for the artists. That's for the sculptors. That's for the musicians and the people who write music, all of that. No. Each and every one of us has that divine spark within us, and it is creative. What we need to do is to be present and to know that it's there, and let those things that are stopping us from experiencing that, stopping us from actually living in that place, let those things go. You know, that opinion that I had that I'm not creative, maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe it just isn't the way that it is, but my creativity doesn't look like somebody else's. And if that's the case, then if I'm creating, how can I create magic? What would that look like? What would I be doing, or who would I be being that magic would show up in my life? Well, I was thinking about this, and one of the first things I thought about was our dear Reverend Sue. One of her things is always treat first. So when you're in that moment of, gee, what do I do now? Take a moment, go within, treat, connect with that divine center, that spark where the creativity lives, and allow it to come forth. Allow it to be what it is, instead of thinking, oh, I know this. because guess what? Maybe, just maybe, I don't. And I'm still here on this planet. I consider myself, actually, I was just talking to Reverend Joyce, I consider myself a wise elder. I've been here a long time, and Lord knows I should have learned a few things. So that said, sometimes I just need to let go of those in the moment and be consciously present. And I have this other friend who says, always be creating. So in that moment of being consciously present, what new thing could I bring in? What could I do or be that would be other than how I've always been? And so I have a funny little story of something that happened yesterday. And, no, not yesterday, Friday. I went to the grocery store because I'd been out of town. And so I bought all these groceries. I came out to my car. I put all the groceries in. I went to start it. The key wouldn't turn. And the key wouldn't turn. And I kept trying all sorts of things. The key still was not turning. And then it's like, oh, what do I do? So then I went and got my spare key, thinking, well, maybe this key will turn. Nope, key did not turn. So, okay, right here, right now, all is well, God's present. Oh, I could call someone who knows more about cars than I do, which I did, but it wasn't there. So I said, well, what do I do now? Oh, I put the groceries that need to go in the refrigerator in a bag and go home. I did that. And shortly after that, my friend called, and I told him my problem, that the key wouldn't turn. And he said, oh, well, you have an older car. They have a steering wheel lock thing. And I went, oh, my goodness. I actually knew about that. But because I was so focused on the key isn't turning, I missed it. I walked back over. Sure enough, got in. That steering wheel lock thing was there. I moved the steering wheel a little bit. Car started right up, and I got right home. Now, was that magic? Maybe. It's magic if I say it is. It's a miracle, which is something not normal, that I call a miracle. So actually, one of the things that I really see in that moment of being present and being conscious of the present, a lot of times what there is to do to create magic, to create miracles, is to reach out, to open your mouth, to connect. And Kelly was talking about being, this isolation and feeling lonely. Well, guess what? If I pick up the phone and I call someone and they answer and I go, oh gosh, it's been a while, and then all of a sudden there's a connection, and that is magical. And sometimes it even creates miracles. So that's what's there. And as a practitioner, we absolutely know that our words are powerful, and that connection brings us all into that divine creativity. So I invite you, treat first and always be creating. Thank you.
So, like Pamela, have you guys learned a few things over the course of your lives? I have as well, and some people say very few things when they reference that for me. But I'm going to take you right back to Ryan Kimery for another song.
Speaking of John Lennon, here's another one. Thank you. People say I'm crazy, doing what I'm doing. Well, they give me all types of warning to save me from ruin. And when I say that I'm okay, well, they look at me kind of strange. Surely you're not happy, boy, you no longer play the game. People say I'm lazy, dreaming my life away. Well, they give me all types of advice designed to enlighten me. Well, I tell them that I'm doing fine, watching shadows on the wall. But don't you miss the big time, boy, you're no longer on the ball. Well, I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. How I love to watch them roll. No longer riding on that merry-go-round. No, I just had to let it go. People asking questions, lost in confusion. Well, I tell them that there's no problems, really, only solutions. Well, they shake their heads and they look at me as if I've lost my mind. Tell them there's no hurry, I'm just sitting here spending time. No, well, I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. How I love to watch them roll. No longer riding on that merry-go-round. No, I just had to let it go. Well, I just had to let it go. I just had to let it go. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you, thank you. Give him another hand if you would, please. Thanks, guys. Wow, so John Lennon. Do you guys know John Lennon? Do you remember that music? I'm a little young for John Lennon, frankly, but I'm glad that you guys all recognize that. Such a loud laugh there, Reverend Lynn. My goodness. My goodness, she's cracking up at that statement. So John Lennon and Watching the Wheels. I look at that song maybe on first glance or on first listen in this idea that I'm talking about today in this month of Finding Magic, and I look at that song, it's almost a statement of modern day society of wanting to get off the merry-go-round, and there is a segment of the population, a segment of our society that is very deliberately doing that. And you see them described sometimes as Generation X or Y or Z or whatever it is, wherever we are in that countdown now, whatever, we may be back to double letters or something sometime soon, but it is, you know, this idea that we're not particularly interested in playing the game of life by the rules as they have been handed down by society. That the carrot on the end of that stick is no longer so compelling that we really want to be involved in the same way. And so we're seeking to get off that merry-go-round. We are seeking in some way some different, more inclusive sort of life. And so in many ways, society doesn't know what to do with this segment of the population. The folks who are saying no to high school and college and student loans and career and paying taxes on time and, establishing a credit rating so that I can then go out and secure some additional debt and do this for 40 or 50 years until you give me that elusive pocket watch at the end of my retirement, and that is no longer enough for some people. And so they're sort of opting out, and yet society wonders, what do we do with the guys that really don't want to play by the rules which we have set up, which we've established? And I suppose that can be one version or one take of that song if you look at it in that way. But in another way, if I take a second glance at the folks who are opting out, and whether that is young people in this day and age or somebody you knew from your past. I had a really good friend who passed away unfortunately a couple years ago, but a very good friend of mine who was an older gentleman, but he was very much in that way of not participating in the traditional work life and that sort of thing. And I had a boss, actually, who his comment about trying to work with and manage the folks in the younger crowd today who don't really respond to the progressive disciplinary policies of a corporation and that kind of thing. He told me at one point, he said, "My God, I can't even shame these people into showing up on time and working harder." And so what do you do with that crowd who you can't shame into working hard and towing the line? And so these guys seem to be in a mode of life now where they're establishing something new, where they are saying, enough is enough. I'm not going to play by the traditional rules. I am mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, because the rules which have been set up, the rules which have been established, what has been offered to me by society is not really in alignment with the authentic life which I want to live. And it's certainly not conducive to living in total alignment with this creative voice that seems to be whispering in our ears to go do something, to go create something, to become something or someone greater. And so are you in alignment with that concept, with that idea that there is a creative voice within you that is calling you to something? Does that make sense in your mind? Can you get behind that idea? And I see some heads nodding yes, and I suspect in religious science that would not be a real difficult sell. So it is very much in alignment with our philosophy, and it is very much in alignment with everything that Ernest Holmes wrote about and talked about and taught. And in fact, he talks about the creative urge that lives within us. He talks about it throughout the entire science of mind and in pretty much every other work of his that I've ever read. It is the idea of this creative urge within us that is seeking to grow and become and do. And in fact, he makes a statement in the science of mind that everything we see, everything we witness, creation itself is in fact the result of this creative urge seeking to grow and to express and to become something greater. And he says it like this. He says that creation is the logical result of the outpush of life into self-expression. The outpush of life. Now, it sounds in a way like birth almost, right? Like the outpush of life, like there is something within me that is seeking to become, that is seeking to be pushed into expression, that is seeking to be pushed into demonstration. Oh, can you sense that about yourself? Can you sense that there is something within you that may be greater than any version of life you have thought of or dreamt of or lived to this point? Yeah? And so then if you can sense that, and if you can feel that, if that makes sense in your mind in some way, then I suspect if you know the power of that there is this urge and it is in some way calling me, driving me, if then we, society, the world stifles that expression, stifles that desire to become and to grow and pushes it down and keeps it at bay, can you then imagine the result of that? It's kind of a heavy feeling, isn't it? To take that creative urge and squash it in a way. It's kind of a really heavy feeling. And so this younger generation and those folks who seem to be opting out of life, what I firmly believe is that it's not an issue with them sloth or laziness or a lack of motivation or something like that. It is not a lax work ethic. That is not what they are suffering from. They, like pretty much the rest of the world, suffer from that which ails humanity in our current day and age, in our current society. They suffer from the same ailment that the rest of the planet suffers from, at least most of the rest of the planet. And it's the same thing that is responsible for the societal problems and the difficulties and the upsets and turmoils that we see in our lives. And if I were to describe that in maybe as few words as possible, that which ails humanity and sort of has brought us to this stage, I would describe it as stifled creativity. That I have this within me that wants to become, and I'm not allowing it to happen. That the world has something within it that it is trying to grow into and become and express that is wonderful and beautiful and inclusive and divine. And yet we are chasing the carrot on the stick rather than paying attention to that creativity and that inner urge which tells us to go and grow and become. And so, hats off then to the younger generation. Hats off to Generation X and Y and Z and those who seem to be opting out. Because they are making a statement that says, I am no longer willing to do that. I am no longer willing to trade what is real life for the illusion thereof. I am no longer willing to live a life that is not in alignment with the presence of God which indwells me. And so those guys sometimes get a bad rap, but hopefully that is a different observation and a different context in which to look at what's going on in the world. And so let me ask you, where are you in your own lives? Where are you in relation to creativity and to the creative urge within you? We see Ryan here playing and singing and that sort of thing, and Pamela mentioned creativity for the musicians and the artists and that sort of thing. And so where are you in relation to the creative urge? Does it have free reign in your life? Does it have free reign and free outlet, and you just follow that wherever it takes you and wherever it guides you? Or is that urge somehow placed on the back burner? Or worse, in a cupboard, sort of locked away or something like that? So I will tell you, when I was a child, when I was a little boy, and I was a little boy. I mean, I was a tiny, tiny, tiny little creature. And while I was tiny in physical form, my creative spirit was enormous. And I lived in that way as a little kid. Every waking moment of the day was an effort in creativity for me. I danced and I marched and I played and I built things and I wrote and drew and painted. I even created an imaginary friend, in fact. And this little friend, I am told his name was Stephen, although I would not have remembered that. But my imaginary friend Stephen went with me everywhere. I took him with me everywhere, every day. And even as this little tiny, mini 3 or 4 year old, Stephen and I would walk the entire circumference of the state of Oklahoma on a daily basis. And then when it was about dinner time and I knew I had to be home, I would head in that direction and apparently drop Stephen off at his imaginary home, and then I would make my way back for dinner and that sort of thing. And my family waiting with bated breath to hear what Stephen and I had done that day. And I would tell those stories from the bully pulpit of my high chair as this little 3 or 4-year-old boy that was tiny. And so every moment of my life really was about creativity. And then, as so commonly happens, if you've noticed, it might have happened to you, I left childhood at one point and entered adulthood. Did you guys do that as well? No. Somebody said no. I kind of want to go back. Kudos to you, Teddy. And so I entered this space of adulthood, you know, and I fell sort of for that carrot on the stick, and I entered a line of work. I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I entered the casino industry, where I spent a lot of years. And I worked in the table games department. And so way back in about, 1989 or 1990, I began working in Las Vegas as a casino dealer. And so I ran dice games, crap games, and poker games, and roulette, and pretty much any card game you can think of. Blackjack and just about anything you can think of. I dealt those games. And if you've been to Las Vegas and you've seen all those bubbles coming out of the ceiling with the cameras, and you've heard of the eye in the sky, and that they're monitoring everything you do and watching every move that everybody makes, and so I suppose it is understandable when there are sometimes thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line in any given moment within one of these gambling games. I guess I understand then their reluctance to embrace my creativity. They're not hugely interested in creativity in that industry. They sort of want it to go very much methodically, right? Robotic almost, in the way that a game is dealt and handled and payoffs are made and that sort of thing, so that if something is spotted that looks out of the ordinary, out of that robotic mold, then it calls to someone's attention that maybe they should take a second look at this. And so my creativity really was set on the back burner for a long, long time. And then a number of years ago, I was working, in fact, in Ventura at Players Casino, and I came home at the end of a night, and it was the end of my work week. I came home wee hours of the morning and laid my head on the pillow and woke up the next morning with sort of just a strange feeling, a strange feeling that I needed to do something, that I didn't know what that meant. And so I walked outside and I began to look around my yard, and I noticed this raised garden bed, this raised planter bed that is there. And it's maybe just about 3 feet wide, something like that, but it's maybe 15 or 18 feet long. So it's kind of a large garden bed. And I started looking at this, and it was not particularly attractive. The only thing growing in it was ivy. And half the ivy in this garden bed was dead, and half of it was just growing out of control. And I was just drawn to start with a new palette and do something different with this garden bed. And so I began that morning ripping ivy out of this garden bed, dead, green, whatever it happened to be, ripping it out, pulling it out, cutting it out, whatever I could do to remove this ivy and get down to something that I could work with. And so I had this ivy stacked on my patio, and it was about 6 feet high and a pile probably 12 or 15 feet across. It was this massive amount of ivy, and I had one garden barrel with which to dispose of that, and so I stood over it with landscape scissors and chopped it up into little, maybe 1 foot sections so I could get all of it into a single barrel and not have to do this for weeks on end. And so I got rid of that, and then I went back to work on this garden bed and pulling the roots and all that sort of stuff and amending the soil so that I could create a palette from which to work. And I did that, and then I filled this garden bed, and by the end of the summer, it was stunning. There was hibiscus with beautiful pink flowers coming off of it, and this incredible golden canna that was about this tall, and by the end of the summer was maybe like this, and it was just, geraniums and all these really colorful and beautiful flowers, and it really transformed it. It looked like it came off the cover of Better Homes and Gardens. It was stunning. It was really a beautiful, beautiful transformation of this garden bed. And so the title of my talk today, if you'll put that talk title up, the title of my talk today is The Magic of Creativity. And I love this. I just love that photo because it reminds me so very much of that story of ripping that ivy out and planting and having my hands in the dirt and in the earth and doing something new, creating something different and allowing something new to emerge. And so I love that, and I will tell you that if you are gardeners, you likely know this, but there is something magnificent about walking out into the garden now. We've gone on to transform the entire yard and add trellises and benches and some really incredible things. But there's something magnificent about going out into the garden and into the yard and looking to see what has grown and what has bloomed and what is new that is coming up today or this morning, that sort of thing. And it's wonderful and it's amazing and it's fascinating, but that is not what I'm talking about when I mention the magic of creativity. It's a lovely process, and it's one that I enjoy very much, and Alfie and I really have become gardeners to some degree. But the magic of creativity is not about what grows in that garden bed and what grows and what blooms and what flowers. The magic of creativity is about what grows and what blooms and what flowers within us as we engage in this creative endeavor. And so it's lovely to see the physical result of our work. But the magic of creativity, to which I refer, is that which comes from the interior world, that which grows and develops. And so what is it then that grows and develops and becomes and flowers within us? And for me, in that process, it was a new realization. And it was the realization that creating and doing things of a creative nature is not optional for me. It is not optional. It is incumbent upon me. It doesn't matter what work I'm doing, what industry I'm in, what is that industry standard, what is it that life and society has told me I can do or be or become. What matters is I need to create. I need to do. I need to step into that. And so I was reminded of that. I remembered that regardless of the outside world, I have to be engaged in that process on a consistent basis. I have to create. And above and beyond needing or desiring or the requirement to create is this idea, this inner urge, this creative urge within, the creative genius within me, the creative genius within you and each one of us. What is that creative genius? That creative urge within us is the very presence of God that indwells us, that I stand on this stage and speak about every single week. And so the magic of creativity certainly is about the reminder that I need to be involved in creating, but it is about stepping into that creative urge that defines me. It is about stepping into the power which indwells me. It is about becoming and stepping into and trying on the presence of God which lives within us and allowing that to guide us and direct us and to show us what it is we are to do, what it is we are to become and to create and to work on. That, for me, is the magic of creativity. And so do me a favor, just quickly, close your eyes for just a second. Close your eyes for just a second and take in a deep breath. And just turn your attention to that place within you that you might define as creativity, as your creative genius, as your creative urge. Just look at that for a moment. Place your attention there. And ask yourself, what is it? What is it that is seeking expression by means of me? What is mine to do? What is it within me that wants me to bring it to life, that wants me to create it? And if you want to open your eyes, that's okay. If you want to keep them closed, that's fine too. But here is what I will tell you. I promise you that there is something genius in you that is seeking to be expressed. There is life within you that is begging to be lived, that is begging for you to bring it to the surface and create it and live it and allow it to come into being. And the fact is, you're the only one that can bring your particular brand of brilliance and beauty to demonstration. You're the only one that can do the particular work that is designed for you. And so I say, go into that world, go into it and uncover it and learn about it and go do it, go live it. Because the world right now is crying out for you to bring your brilliance to demonstration. And so I will just leave you with the words of the great, great philosopher, Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah said this. She said, make visible what without you might never have been seen. Make visible what without you might never have been seen. Happy Sunday, everybody. Much love to you all. I so appreciate your being here today. Ryan's going to come back up, and we're going to do our offertory in just a minute or two. We're going to put our offertory affirmation up, and I'm just going to ask again, as I always do. We love your support. We love your kindness. We love your participation. As you support this center, whether that is with time or talent or money or whatever it is, please, please, please make sure it comes from your heart. And so, with our offertory affirmation, let's do that together right now. Before reaching into my pocket, I look into my heart. I see a life that is rich in so many blessed ways. It is my heart's great desire to share with others the good that has been so generously given me. In so doing, my efforts and impact are magnified, and the world is infused with a greater sense of giving. And so it is. I will remind you, if you're out there on Facebook Live joining us today, if you care to support this center, if you look in the chat, the link is there. They'll redirect you to our donation page. You could, in fact, right-click that and open it in a new tab and not even leave this service as we wind down today. So